What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. You're listening to InCamp Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. Today, I've got a guest who's full of stories and who loves to just share things and share people. He is a fantastic guest from Tracks and Tackle, Ron Mentzer. You're going to love all the stuff we just kind of dive into today. Deer season is just around the corner. We're at this is like mid-August, and I think everybody's kind of getting excited, but we're not in full mode yet. So this is a good episode to get you fired up for the deer season, ready for the camp camaraderie, and even the solitude that you get from being in a tree, the battery recharging, as we all like to call it, or whatever. I really enjoyed this episode. So you need to check out Tracks and Tackle. If you would, go do that for me. They have a really cool shop right now. They've got a really cool collaboration and a lot of great guests. So go check them out. Thanks. This is InCamp Podcast. I'm here with Ron Mentzer, a newfound friend of mine. We've been chopping it up for a couple weeks since I was on your podcast, and it's been good getting to know you guys. What's happening?
Oh man, living the dream. That's what we like to say. You know, we're just living the dream. It's your world. I'm just living in it. But life's good. It's summertime. So it's that time of year where my brain is actively shifting to fall.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's summer. We're supposed to be enjoying the sun and enjoying the nice weather and stuff. But all I can think about is, getting 20 feet up in a tree stand, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I love fishing, man. But when the water starts getting hot and the fishing starts to slow down, and then I get bored pretty quick. So I'm ready to, I did actually contemplate going to hang cameras and doing a little scouting last week, but I just couldn't bring myself to endure the 100-degree weather we had. So
yeah, last week was brutal. Yeah, it was really rough. So those are water days if you can swing it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get up to our cabin for a month or two because we've got summer projects that need to be taken care of, like splitting firewood, and we got to run some siding on the property and do some repairs. And I haven't been able to do it. It inevitably, it's always like August, like late July, August, hottest time of year. And then you go do a work detail out in the woods. So not ideal, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So I'm having you on because I know that you, when I was on your podcast, you're ready. You were jonesing when I was talking about some stuff. You were ready to share some stories, and I'm ready to hear them. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our guests? Because a lot of my listeners, might not know you. We're both kind of new podcasters, and well, I mean, you're a lot further along, and people should know who you are, man.
Well, appreciate it, Aaron, and thanks for having me on. Certainly, anytime I get an opportunity to hang out and talk about outdoors, wildlife, that sort of stuff, I'm game. So my name's Ron Mentzer. I am how do I want to describe myself? I run a Mentzer Outdoors online. You can find us at Mentzer Outdoors. It's kind of like a family page where we're just recapping all of our outdoor moments and hunting and hanging out with the family. We're big about traditions, passing on generational stuff. And I can talk about what that means internally on the family line a little bit down the road. But we also started a podcast a couple of years ago. Just down here, it's summertime. It's about this time of year, July, hanging out in my pool. I got a Labrador Collie Retriever. So the lab in her wants to be in the water. And so I don't get in the pool, but the dog will. And she'll, she wants to fetch and swim laps, and she'll stay in there for hours. So I was thinking to myself, man, everybody's got a podcast and we love to tell stories. And, that the Mentzer Outdoors page does that to some extent, but it's how do we take this up a notch? And so we started the Tracks and Tackle podcast. And that was a couple of years ago. And basically what it is, they're kind of like three pillars that we stand on and believe in. One of them is respect for the outdoors, respect for nature, respect for the land, going out and recognizing what God's created for us to enjoy.
Yeah.
Leave it better than you found it, that sort of thing. So appreciation for nature. We say nature is our playground, and we fully embrace that. Another pillar is storytelling.
Yeah.
because if you're doing this sort of thing, you like telling stories, you like hearing stories, and we like that old hunt camp feel. If you're in Pennsylvania, you know what I'm talking about. The guys standing around the tailgate after, the hunt or going back to camp and sharing the stories. So we're big on storytelling. And then, the third main pillar I would say is traditionally we like to pass it on. We all carry some sort of tribal knowledge. It's been taught to us. And we don't want to house that and sort of put it up on a shelf just for us. We want to pass that along to the next generation. We want to see people embrace, we've tasted something. We're outdoorsmen for a reason.
Yeah.
We've tasted something that we've seen is good. And I want to share that. I want other people to experience it. So that's my short bio, and I'm a talker. I have been gifted with the gift of God's given me the gift of gab. So, stop me if I go too long, but we started the podcast about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And in the midst of that, we've met a lot of cool people like yourself, Aaron. And, in the course of me doing it, I started it with the podcast with my nephew. He's a little bit younger than me, and, he's settling down and getting himself figured out in life and buying homes and building a family and that sort of stuff. And I met a guy who is now my co-host. And we found out, look, we're about the same age. We have the same likes and dislikes, and we don't live that far away from one another. And so I asked him to come on the show. And through that, he runs an outdoor page and I have the Mentzer Outdoors page. And we said, why don't we just collect? How do we become the digital hunt camp for guys in the region? So I know I could go out and I could book guests that are well-known names from all over America, and people do it, right? You got all sorts of people come on podcasts, and that's great. Love it. But we've strategically tried to connect with people like yourself because you're regional to us. And we're trying to build bridges, up through Pennsylvania and into Maryland and the North Atlantic area down. I think one of our close guys is, all the way down in Arkansas. But we've built a Tracks and Tackle collaborative network of content creators. Some guys are like yourself are podcasters. Some guys are YouTubers. Some guys are just, just the guy that likes to post his pictures, the grip and grin pics.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome. No gatekeeping. And what we'll do is we just boost one another. So if you post something, cool online, we're all going to like it. We're going to drop comments and we're going to share it. And it's really helped the guys that engage it the most get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So, started with the podcast, or started with the Mentzer Outdoors, went to the podcast, built this collaborative network, and we're just growing. We're meeting a lot of cool people.
I distinctly remember the adrenaline dump feeling. I was staring at my pack on the ground with all my gear, 2 hindquarters, and a 10-point rack. Even though I was riding a high, I was wore out. I was about 3.5 miles back from the truck, and even my hunting partner looked at me that day and said, "Man, I hope you brought a little go juice to get back." But let me tell you something, I was really thankful that day for Hydrate and Recover from Wilderness Athlete. It really gave me the pep that I needed to get back out of the woods with that deer. Even before that time, I had been using Wilderness Athlete for years. Their multivitamins, their probiotics, and their fish oil, they're always easy on my stomach, and their supplements have really been so great. I've tried other things, and I could never find something else that really matched. So if you're interested in trying their products, there's a special link in my bio. Clicking it does help support InCamp, and I really appreciate that, but I can attest you will love their product. Check them out. Wilderness Athlete, fuel for the rugged. You know what I think is really cool about that is social media is a really, really big space. And sometimes I have to be intentional about what I'm looking for. Like if I'm going to look for, like if you post something and I don't check Instagram within 3 hours, there's a really good chance I don't even see. Yeah, I don't even see it. And I think that's one good thing is you guys have been pretty intentional about, being inclusive to these guys on the East Coast. Mine does set up differently. I have a lot of people on from all over the country, and but like you, I kind of stand on a few things, but faith is a huge thing for me in my podcast, right. And that's something I want to get to share a lot of. But what I really love about what you're doing is a lot of the average Joe weekend guys see this stuff on social media, and that's just what hunting is. And maybe the person who's still has an average podcast, but still has a little more attention than the average Joe. They're like, oh, well, he's like a sellout, but then they get to realize like somebody like you is still including them. They feel included in the hunting community. And I think that that's really important when we have things like, hey, did you hear we need to call this senator and we need to shout out for this piece of public land? And
Right.
but they're going to take your word for it and probably do it because you've kind of, even if it's not like a whole lot of interaction, you've interacted with them in some way. That's so important in hunting in the outdoors because we are kind of a minority.
Yeah. It's a competitive, the outdoors is a competitive space, especially if you're a deer hunter, if you're a bow hunter,
Mm-hmm.
you get your target buck. Like, I'm not telling anybody where my fishing hole is. I'm not telling anybody where my, where I'm putting my tree stand up and I'm patterning, a nice deer or something like that. And so that's part of the world that we're playing in, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sandbox that we're playing in. But I don't know, like, I like to give a guy a hard time. Like, crossbow guys get a hard time from the compound hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and the compound bow guys get a hard time from the traditional recurve guys.
Mm-hmm.
And like how far back do you want to go to say like my way's better?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that in this industry or in this field where we can look at one another and we critique the way that you do it
Mm-hmm.
versus the way that I do it. And we all think we're right. And, there might be some validity to that. There's always a better way. But we don't know what we don't know. And so I'm a firm believer that everybody has something to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So you have something that you can teach me that my sphere of influence has never taught me, right?
Yeah.
I can learn from everybody that brings something to the table. And, one of the things we like to say is hunt your hunt. And
Mm-hmm.
what by that we mean, do it your way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I might not go out with the crossbow, but I know somebody that does. And if that's what gets them outdoors and they're participating, look, as long as it's ethical and legal, have at it and enjoy it. We're not going to dog on you for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because of that approach, it's been inclusive to a degree where anybody can join. We just want to see you get out there and embrace that nature as your playground mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. And like you said, your podcast stands on respect for the animals. So if you think that your way is better, but crossbows are still legal, and you have a buddy that hunts with a crossbow and he's mildly unethical, maybe you should just help him be more ethical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because I don't think he's gonna quit. So it's like, I always get worried about when like new stuff comes out, and we talk about this on here pretty often. Like, I don't hate cell cams. Like, I use cell cams. I like cell cams. I think they're useful for the working man. I think that they could have a huge advantage over a deer. I think live scope fishing is probably for the normal recreational angler. Even people that are in competition, maybe that kind of sucks. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's here. It's not kind of going anywhere. I think there needs to be, I think it's kind of like when a new supplement comes out and the FDA doesn't get the chance to review it, but it's on the shelf. It's kind of the same idea, right? Like, fortunately, they got a hold of drones, before they started. But I think there's something that a podcast like yours can do to say, hey, we have respect for the animal. So if you're going to use a tool like that, it needs to be a tool and you need to use it appropriately.
Yeah. It's one of those things too, Aaron. It's just like you said about social media. Like, it can be used for, positive things and negative things, So I think of things like drones and, tools in the toolbox that if used for the right reasons, awesome, but there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to leverage it for an advantage or something along those nature. And so like, I don't think that that's ever going to go away because of our nature and the just mankind and how that goes. But, I guess to circle back to what we were talking about, previously, one of the things that my dad always told me, like growing up, was there's always room for improvement. Like you can better yourself, because you said about how do you help somebody that's doing it the shortcut way and help them to become more ethical. And I remember like I was a pretty good student when I was younger. And, elementary school, I'd come home and I'd have all A's and, high marks and things like that. And I didn't have to try real hard to do it. But even then, my dad would say, well, you can do better. There's room to improve. Always. So you never got that, hey, you've made it, you've achieved it, pat on the back. It's always like, all right, great job, do better next time.
Yeah. And
so that was like drilled into me as a kid. That was like, man, get straight A's, Dad. Come on. Give me a little bit of credit. But, that being drilled into me as a child is sort of like, it's in my DNA now. So it is helping other people do better. It is helping other people be better. It is never settling, for where you're at. And I think, I don't know if we talked about this or if I was talking with somebody else about it, but, there's that drive that we have as deer hunters that we want to go out and we put everything that we've got into the pursuit of the game. And that could be turkeys, that could be deer, that could be fishing, whatever your species is, you can pour yourself into it at the detriment of other people and the people in your life around you and that sort of stuff. So finding balance while always trying to improve yourself, is part of that walk, because there are tools out there that you can leverage that make the job a lot easier. And, you just want to make sure you're you're coloring inside the line. So I'll just say it that way.
Yeah. So your co-host is a big duck hunter, and that would be his species. But what would you call yourself? I mean, I know that you love deer hunting.
I'm a bow hunter.
You're a bow hunter?
I'm a bow hunter. Yeah. Look, I love to hang out with the guys. Like I said, I have been given the gift of gab, and I can sit and carry on a conversation, and I like to hang out and do the tailgate talks and that sort of stuff. But honestly, give me 8-9 hours in a tree stand alone and with my thoughts, and I'm recentered, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big buck hunter. I mean, I've killed some nice deer and I'll shoot does. I'm a meat hunter, that sort of stuff. But man, there's just nothing like getting close to that animal. I see the posts online where they say, after the harvest, and you're like, you're the first person to ever touch that animal. Let it sink in. Last year, I was seeing deer early on in the archery season, but they were a lot of young deer, so it's tough on opening day. And I think we talked about this when you came on our show, but like, it's tough on opening day. 2 years ago, I went out with my nephew just to hang out with him on a day. He took me to a spot where he hunts and he sees deer. He put me up in a tree stand. I've never been there before. And I was just thinking to myself, man, it's just like a beautiful day to be out. It's opening day. I'm not going to shoot anything. I'm on a video, cause I like to film my hunts. So I'm just going to sit here. But sure enough, you get 3 doe come out in front of me and I have a doe tag to burn. There's nothing like getting that one on the ground to, sort of break the ice for the season. So, the guys joke and they say, well, reflex or instinct kicks in whenever you're in that situation. But last year I was having a lot of little deer come through. I was able to get them on film, but, just little yearlings, and they were coming in close. I think one I had within like 5 yards, just walking right under my stand. And just the fact that I'm beating their nose is fun for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm a bow hunter at heart. Like, that's my passion. Right now, that's where my brain is. It's, midsummer time, and I'm thinking about shooting the bow, setting the stands, where the deer patterning, that sort of stuff. That's just, it eats me up, and I'm all about it.
some of the biggest, primarily I'm a whitetail hunter too, but there's not anything I don't like to do. So I almost don't really put myself in I would have put myself in that category before. Like that's where all the writing that I've done is all in whitetails and all that kind of stuff. And but the last like 5-6 years, man, I just like I want to just have a lot of fun experiences. But when it comes to whitetails, it's not like the experience goes away. It's just kind of like what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like hunting as big of a buck as I can find. And if that's not the first one by that I like, then I'm probably going to shoot a different one, like, but I think, guys are always looking to chase some different experience. And it's not that I won't hunt whitetails out of state. I like, hunting, close to home. Maybe I'll go to New Jersey, and I know I have points for Iowa. I'm probably going to Iowa next year. I could go this year, but I don't really want to, so that being said, my favorite part about hunting whitetails is looking for whitetails,
it's the pursuit. It's the cat and mouse,
the
figuring them out, patterning the deer, and look, they beat me more than I beat them. Yeah. And I'm successful. Yeah. Compared to a lot of guys, I've been successful in it, but they beat me more than I beat them. Like I lose more nights than I win when it comes to that game of cat and mouse with the deer.
Well, I think there's something like, if I'm scouting, I can actually almost control what happens. As long as my legs can carry me fast enough to go to where I want to go, I'll find something that I'm looking for. And usually you get like a huge amount of satisfaction from that. You get into an area where you're like, oh, this is it. Like your spidey senses are tingling and you're like, there's a good deer here somewhere. Whether it's, you find like the robust sign, or you find like whatever you find when you're scouting, use your woodsmanship skills, and probably should have this fall, I'll probably start talking about a lot of that stuff on my short episodes, is like, what are whitetail woodsmanship skills, and what are you looking for when you're looking for rubs? What are you looking for when you're looking for scrapes? Usually I save that kind of stuff for short formats because I drive myself crazy just talking about tactics and strategy and all that kind of stuff. But I think the part of the experience that I'm talking about is you have the control over your scouting situation. If you aren't much of a hiker and you can't get to point B because you just didn't get there fast enough, well, maybe you won't get satisfaction out of it. But when you're hunting, you can sit in that tree for 8 or 9 hours. If you have very low expectations, maybe you come out satisfied. But if you go in there and you're like, oh, today I'm going to see a pile of deer, and you see a button buck at dark after you sat in that tree all day, you're like, what did I do all day? It
can wear you down.
Yeah. And it can be frustrating. So sometimes I almost get as much satisfaction, if not more, from finding the places that I am going to hunt and the anticipation. How about you?
Well, what comes to mind is, something my wife likes to say, because, she's not an outdoorsman at all, didn't grow up with that, but, married into it. And, but she loves the outdoors, and so we take the dogs on hikes, and she likes to, go and just get out and walk in nature. And she says to me, she's like, I like to hike, you like to scout. Because I don't want to be on a trail where everyone else is walking on the beaten path. I want to get off the beaten path. I want to look for signs. I want to go to where no man has gone before, because if you get into those really, really like hell holes where people don't want to go to, that's where the deer are. So, I mean, I can think of a couple of years ago, I took my 2 nephews and I went up to our property, and, we were just walking, looking for sheds in the spring, and we don't do a whole lot of shed hunting, but something to do with the boys. And,
I like participation trophies.
Right. And we were doing good. One of them was really, sucking wind, because he's not acclimated to doing it as much as we were, but has a firm appreciation for when we say, hey, we're going to this section of the woods, because he knows what it entails now.
Yeah.
But we just got into this hollow that was just like loaded with boulders and rocks, and like there just was and briar patches, and it just was
stereotypical Pennsylvania.
It was tough hiking, and nothing was flat, and it really wasn't safe to walk through. You had to watch your ankles and that sort of stuff. But you get in there and you're like, holy crap, look at the sign. You're like, if I was a mountain goat, I wouldn't be hanging out in this area, but the deer are.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to go, that's the thing. If you just want to hunt 50 yards, 100 yards off where you park from the parking lot, that's what you're going to get. And that's fun too. Like I love if there's a spot and I can make that work and there's no pressure, like I'll do it all day long.
Yeah. If you can figure it out.
I'm just as happy to shoot a deer at 8 o'clock in the morning as I am to, sit there all day and 10, 11 o'clock or even, evening hunts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. But to your point, getting to where nobody else is and beating their nose, it's getting into and getting out of, that's part of it too. Right. Because I might be able to go there, but some of the places I got to go to, I'm not a little guy. I'm sweating, it's rolling down me. Like I know I stink till I get in there. And if you can beat their nose, like that's the real trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is pretty, it is a pretty important part of it. And, you end up like coming up with rules when you like whitetail hunt. Well, I'm not going all the way back to that spot and shooting a doe or whatever, like I'm always, and, the more you get into it, the more it's like when I have the opportunity, I should probably pull the trigger most of the time. I'm not saying there's not a time where like if I'm hunting, pretty far in and it's early, maybe it is a good time to shoot a doe because then that time's got some time to settle down. I've got a buddy, and I told him if he wanted the award for how far back you could shoot a doe, he could have it if he could stop doing that. So I could
Texas heart shot.
Yeah. He would be like 2 miles from the truck and be like, hey,
for the drag.
Can you help me come get this deer out? Or, one time he got lost and it was 80 degrees outside and he ran out of water. So he shot a deer, finds the deer, got turned around when he was looking for the deer and somehow got a text message out to me like, bad shape, come fast.
I'm lost.
Bring water, meet me here. And I'm like, oh no. And it's like 9:30 at night. And I'm like, honey, I gotta go find it. Like, so something's not right. Like and then he wouldn't text me back. And I'm like, oh no, like he's hurt, and I'm like calling my buddies that are down in that area. I'm like, we gotta go find him. Like something's not right. And, we get to the spot and he stumbles out into the parking lot and he's like purple because he's so hot and like dehydrated. And, and then he's like, hey, do you mind coming help me get this deer? And I'm like, you son of a gun,
Opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story, similar to that.
I used to have a room where I had a few Euro mounts on the wall, and my wife got so tired of rescuing them every time we cleaned the house. I almost lost my investments in them a few times by a shattered piece on the floor. But then I found dead on display Euro mounting systems, and I'll never try a different one. Other than tearing the screws straight out of the wall, which is not going to be an easy thing to do, there's no way these skull mounts are going to fall. They are pinned to the wall better than any other system I've found. But I've got them for all my skulls at home, including a 6x6 elk that is quite heavy. And these brackets, they're just a workhorse. That thing is as solid as it can get. So check them out on Instagram at Dead on Display and at deadondisplay.com.
So it's a couple years ago. And where we hunt, now, the guys that listen to our show, they've heard this story because it was really hell getting this deer out. But, where we hunt in Western PA, we're towards the top of a ridge, and there's funnels that go through there, and I know where the deer are moving through. But for bow hunting, you want to hunt on one side of the mountain, because it's semi steep grade. But that's the side the cabin's on. we're hunting up above camp. Usually if you shoot them, you're dragging downhill for the most part. But the deer know that too. And they like to run the ridge on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't shoot them right and they run over onto the other side, the area where I'm talking about, you can just reach your hand out. You're standing on the ground, reach your hand out, and you're touching the ground.
Yeah.
Like you're not hiking up it, you're pulling yourself up with tree limbs and stuff like that. It's just that steep in some areas. So this was rifle season. And in rifle season, the woods gets like loaded with the Orange Army, you know? And so I was hunting on the backside of the hill, and you know, if you shoot a deer and drops, you're in okay shape.
Yeah.
But if you don't hit them right, you got yourself some work to do cut out for you. So I had 2 doe come into me, and the first one came through, and I shot it, and it dropped, and it was snow on the ground, so it slid like 15 yards downhill. And I'm thinking, oh my God, stop. And then another doe came through, and I shot her too, but she didn't stop sliding.
Oh no.
It wasn't the best shot. She was moving. She heard the other gunshot. She was, you know, and she slid probably 200 yards downhill. I just didn't catch a tree. She didn't hang up on anything. And so it was later in the day till this happened, late afternoon. And I knew I had one down like 15 yards from the tree I was sitting. I was just hunting on the ground. I'm like, all right, I'll get to that when I get this other one up here. But I hadn't stopped. I hadn't eaten any lunch. You know, I had my oatmeal pie still in my pack. And I didn't know exactly how far she went. So I started down over. I didn't take my drink with me or anything like that. I'm like, I'm just going to get her and pull her up. Well, she slid down there far enough, and it was snow and ice on the ground. I couldn't drag her up. So I had to pack her out. And so like 3 hours later, you know, probably exaggerating a little bit, but I'm out there, you know, I'm field dressing this deer. I'm quartering it up. I've got my orange vest. I've got a heart in one pocket. I got back straps in the next pocket. I don't have anything to carry anything.
Yeah.
Because even without carrying the deer, you couldn't walk up the hill.
Right.
It was that steep.
Right.
And so I'm your buddy. I'm like texting my brother. I'm like, get to the top of the hill, bring me a drink.
Yeah.
You know, I need help. I'm in bad shape. I felt like I was on Survivor, and like if I ever made it to the top, they're going to vote me off the island because it took me all the rest of the day. Like it was dark.
Yeah.
It was just an awful, awful experience. So I finally got up to where the tree where I was sitting at, and I'm, like you say, purple in the face, probably low blood sugar. Like I was not good. My brother had a drink. He had the other deer cleaned out for me because it was there. And then, you know, once I got to that point, we had to get them back to camp. Yeah. So like that wasn't even, you know, to the truck. That was only
half of it. Yeah.
But it's so important to have a hunting buddy that you can rely on. You know, like your friend was, he could call you out, and you're going to go out at 9 o'clock at night and bail them out and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff on our own as guys, but that camaraderie, those people that you can hang your hat on and depend on, that is so valuable in moments like that. And so I said, I'm never hunting back here again.
Yeah.
Until, you know, the following spring, you know, and I'm like, man, you know what? That wasn't that bad. You know, my muscles aren't hurting anymore. Like I think I could hack it, you know? So anyway, that's a story. And it's funny though, because we'll do the things that we know we shouldn't do to get the deer.
Yeah. I always I'll get like guys that are probably like in their 80s on trail cameras 2 miles into the woods. And I'm like, what in the world are you going to do if you kill a deer back here?
Yeah.
I hope you know somebody, you know what I mean? Cause I would, dude, if I saw one of those guys dragging it out there, I'd be like, put it down. I got it. You know, there's no way I'm letting you take this thing out of here, you know? And I don't know, man, that's one thing that I've learned from our Western compadres is I have a 1/4 mile rule. I don't drag a deer if it's further than that. Cause it's not like packing a deer out. People are like, oh, well, you put it on your back. That's so heavy. I'm like, it's way easier than bending my arms backwards to pull this thing out of here.
And bone it out.
Yeah, it's way easier, and, but I do remember like early on experimenting with that, and like there's some pretty funny pictures that go along with that kind of stuff.
I don't think till I got to the top of that hill, I could have carried that deer any further.
Yeah.
I was beat. Beat. But, we love to doe hunt not doe hunt. We love to bow hunt. And, I think one of the stories that I wanted to tell you was the kill that I had last year with my buck, because I was seeing a lot of deer, like I had mentioned earlier, but they were small.
Yeah.
And that was hunting around locally. But for the rut, usually, second, third week of November, something like that, we'll go as a family out to the cabin and take a few days off. And so the weather was pretty bad. It was really, really windy and cold. Our cabin's heated by fire, and it was warmer outside than it was inside, because it's just sitting there in the middle of the woods, and all the dry walls just soaking up the cold air, and to get a fire going for a while, it takes a while to warm it up. So I got up mid-morning, late morning, and the wind was blowing, and it was cold out, but it was colder in camp than it was out of camp. And I was just waiting for my brother and his boy to come up and meet me there in the evening. They had to work during the day, and they were going to meet me at night. So I said, well, I'm just going to put on my gear and go sit in my tree stand and see what comes through. I got 5-6 days to hunt.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go sit out there. And it was like you were on the water, the wind was blowing the tree and moving. I'm like, man, I probably shouldn't even shoot anything if it comes through, walking through here.
Right.
So I sat all day, probably like 10 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And my fingers were pretty cold. I wasn't filming anything. I was at that point where I just want to stay warm, but it's getting to be, the sun's starting to set. And I saw a nice little basket rack come in. And here's the other thing. I had just gotten a new bow last year, and I haven't drawn blood with it yet. So I was letting all these little deer go through, all, just passing by, all, early season. And I saw this respectable little buck come through, little 8-point. And he comes up within like 23 yards, right to the tree where they all walk up to and check out and scent check and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, 23 yards, brand new bow. I'm not going to hold out for, I might not get another opportunity. I'm going to shoot this deer.
Yeah.
And so I draw on him. He's broadside, perfect. Let the arrow go, and he just stands there. Now with my old bow, that deer is going to jump. He's going to run.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, either I missed him clean, or this bow's a dang good bow.
Yeah.
And he didn't look hit, but I knew that it was a good shot. And so I just scratched my head, and then he just turned and he walked back the way that he came. He walked about 60 yards, 40, 60 yards, and he laid down at the base of a tree. I was sitting in my tree watching him. He just bedded down, and the wind was blowing. And I thought, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah.
If I hit him, I didn't hit him good.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I watched him, and then the doe started coming through. Had a whole doe parade. 10 or 11 deer walked past him in the rut, and he didn't get up and chase any one of those doe.
Oh, yeah.
I said, all right, so I hit him because he's not acting right. But he got up and then he walked off. And so I was excited. My goal was, can I, when my brother gets to camp, am I able to say, hey, I got one on the meat pole? I have the rest of the week just to hang out and hang out at camp and be one of the guys. So, it's getting closer to dark. It's probably like another, 30, 45 minutes, all the deer clear out. And I'm like, well, I don't have a really good trail because the leaves at November, they're blowing. And so anything where he walked, those leaves were just kicked up anyway. So anyway, long story short, I had 2 more doe come into me within like 5 yards, 10 yards of the tree that I was in. I'm like, I'm going to have meat on the meat pole. So I took one of the doe. Now she jumped and ran off like I missed her. I thought, what I'm ready to throw this brand new bow out. So it gets to be dark. I get down. Long story short, I hit him a little bit back. The arrow passed clean through, and I caught him like it wasn't like far back in the guts, but it was like caught some stomach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, he's hit. I know he's hit, but there wasn't good blood. And that doe, I went and I found her, and there was blood on her arrow, but she ran the same way that he ran or walked off. And I'm like, if I go trailing her, I might kick him up, and I need him to lay for the evening.
Right.
So I backed out. And that tug of war, it's the right thing to do, but it's that tug of war in your mind. Did I get him? Is he going to run for miles? The closest water source is miles away. We're on top of the hill. Everything's going through your mind that can go through your mind.
Right.
Next day I got up there. There was no blood. I didn't have any good sign of leaves kicked up or trailing or hair or anything. And the only thing that I could do was get up on the ridge, because I was probably 20 yards from the ridge, and just walk the ridge line out and look for yellow, white belly. And so I walked 75 yards, and I saw where a deer, I thought it was her because that's where she had ran. And I saw where a deer had a blood puddle where they bedded down right on the ridge to watch over both sides. And I'm getting the camera out and I'm taking pictures of this blood, and I'm excited. I'm like, all right, they bedded down here. They won't be far. And I look over, down the back side that I told you about, and he's laying.
Nice.
So I just had a thank you, Jesus moment. I sat there in the sun and was just like, I didn't think I was going to get him. And I got to punch that tag.
Yeah.
And so I was ecstatic, because it was one that you didn't know. I might have got away. And so I'm cleaned him up. I'm dragging him out, get back to my stand. And on the way back to my stand, I saw the white belly of the doe. And so I was able to recover both of them on the second day of that hunt. And, I spent probably the rest of the morning getting those two back to camp on my own so everybody else could hunt. But those are the things about bow hunting, that the hunt was great, but it's the recovery. It's the story afterwards. It's retelling the story now to my friends. That's the stuff we're all about.
Yeah.
We want to relish in those type of moments.
I think that sometimes, especially young whitetail hunters might hear us talking about how important the experience is and think that we don't care about being successful anymore. You know what I mean?
And
I don't find that to be true at all. I find having a successful hunt is very important to me. It's not as important as a good story and a good experience, but the success part is important. Or what's the point in doing it too? You're working at trying to be successful.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I think. When I was younger, I wanted to be successful. As I grow older, if I'm hunting with you and you're successful, I'm just as happy. When I was younger, I might have been like, man, he was in the spot I wish I was in, that mindset of I want to be successful. But as I grow older, man, I celebrate your wins. Your wins are my wins, and hearing you tell the story is just as good as me telling the story.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. And I think that we grow into that, because one of the things that it is the experience. Like we want to be successful, but it is the experience, because you don't know how many moments you have left. You don't know how many seasons you have left. Every moment's a teaching moment or a learning moment. Every moment is a memory that you're making. When we talk about the good old days, we're in the good old days.
Yeah.
20 years from now, this is the good old days. We're going to be thinking back at these conversations and thinking, man, remember when?
Yeah.
And so that's my view on it.
Yeah. Man, I like, you can think back to the good old days now. Like I've been hunting for 26 years or something like that, and because in PA we couldn't hunt when we were 7. We
had to wait till you're 12.
We had to wait till we were 12. I don't hate it. Like I like being able to have the opportunity to take my daughter out or take other kids out now, because there's a lot of other opportunity for them that they didn't have when we were kids. Like we didn't have iPads and all that kind of stuff to play games on all day or whatever. So now I'm glad that there is something to interrupt that stuff. you know,
Agreed.
you might have to make your choice for your kid if it's time or not. But the point being is man, my entertainment back in the good old days was I hunted on a farm. I still do. I'm still friends with these people. They've been lifelong family friends, and I still go to the farm. But me and my best friend, there was 4 boys, and I was very close with 2 of them. And we got a 9mm Sony camera, and we were gonna be, you know, Bill Jordan out there in the field,
Yeah.
you know, and we were like 14, and we used to take the John Deere instead because we couldn't drive yet. So
Yep.
but they could drive a tractor. So
Yep.
we
I know the guys.
yeah,
Yep.
we would all pile in the farm all or in the John Deere cab, and you know, drive down to the other section of farm that we wanted to hunt or whatever, and go in there. And I don't remember why I didn't archery hunt that year. I think I kind of like grew out of my bow or something, and I didn't have enough. I didn't save up enough money working at the nursery to, you know, the plant nursery to make enough for a bow. But I went and I filmed him, you know. We were filming all these little bucks that were like could have reached out and poked him, you know, or whatever. And I think I filmed him miss like 2 or 3 deer that year. And those are like,
That's the best.
if I still had a VHS player, I still have the tape, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, but those are some of the good old days that I get to look back on now, you know?
Let me see if I got it laying around here. So I don't know if I told you about this or not, because we're talking about memories and memorializing stuff.
Yeah.
My brothers, I don't see it laying around here. I'd break it out and show you the picture. But my brothers was much older than me. He's 13 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 12, you know, he was in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me a lot about hunting and fishing and just falling in love with the outdoors. And he was my big brother, you know, he's the best man at my wedding. I looked up to him, still do. And I remember first time he took me out hunting when I was 12, you know, he put me in a climber, and it was an old tree hugger where you had to hug the tree to get up, you know. There was no seat on it. There's no top section. It was just the bottom section.
Yeah.
Taught me how to do it. Got me about, 10, 12 feet off of the ground. And he said, all right, sit there. He's like, a deer can hear you spit a mile away, so don't make a sound. And he just laughed.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? I'm not going to see no deer. So like, that's kind of how, like, throw me into the deep end and let me figure it out. But he wasn't far, you know.
Yeah.
He could keep an eye out. He saw me. He knew what I was doing, and he was a great role model that way. But one thing that he did was, it doesn't matter if it was, your first deer or if it was a little doe, like, he would always take your picture. He'd take your picture, and then he'd go get the film developed. I'm dating myself a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But he'd go get the film developed, and then we had a scrapbook. And in the scrapbook would be pictures of us falling asleep at camp, or, at the meat pole, or on the tailgate, or whatever, those are and then we could look back, and we still have it to tell the stories. When we bought our property that we hunt, where our cabin is, in addition to that, we just started to log and I don't know if I've told you this or not, but we just started to log our journey. And so every trip, I don't care if we were cutting firewood, if we were just going up to hang out for the weekend, if we were turkey hunting, you would fill out the logbook. And so we've got years and years of stories, because one time you might fill out the logbook and we get your version, and the next time I fill out the logbook and you get my version.
Right.
And so if I had a successful hunt, that story might sound, I'm pretty proud of myself. You can tell my chest is puffed out a little bit when I wrote that one down. Like your buddy, I filmed him miss. One time, I don't know, I was probably 13 years old. I was shooting old aluminum arrows. I had like 5 or 6 doe come up through, a tree stand I'm in. I missed 5 or 6 times. I've got arrows just littered all around me.
Yeah.
And I'm out of arrows, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Those are the stories that, we tell the younger guys and they're like, is this true or is this embellished? But
Yeah.
I'll have to show you sometime. I'll send you a picture. What I did was I took the log book. I typed it all up because it's all handwritten and it's getting faded and stuff. And I typed it all up and I've got a hardback cover laying around here somewhere. So, and it's just the Mentzer Outdoors Family Journal.
That's cool.
And we're still adding to it.
Yeah.
But those are the memories. And that's why we do the podcast and we do shows like this.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is a good story or a good weekend to get somebody into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure. And that being said, you're talking about your brother printing pictures. This is funny you mentioned that because I said to my wife the other day, I was like, whatever happened to just printing pictures? Like, because she's like, we have printed pictures and the only ones you ever got out were your hunting ones. And you'd be like, well, here, and somebody come over and be like, well, look at the hunting pictures. And I still pull out, like, I haven't printed a picture for years now. And I'm like, why did I stop doing that? Because I used to love to open that book and like look at that stuff. But talk about something kind of fun for a young fella to do. Like, I looked at that book all the time, whether it was fishing and seeing all the pictures of my grandfathers or seeing the stuff that we did. And it's like, this isn't me trying to be like, oh, none of the good stuff happens anymore. Like the good old days are gone. Like, man, the good old days they just keep coming,
Yeah. It's fun to reminisce.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it is. So we keep I only just started going to a friend of mine and one of our other buddies own a cabin together. And we go up there to rifle hunt and like do the Northwoods thing in PA. And, they're great friends, but we do that there too. We keep a log and it is so funny to read back on some of the, like, who was there last and then see like, so-and-so forgot to change the toilet paper or even forgot to bring any up. And then,
So I guess this spring I went up, turkey hunting, took a buddy up turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And, that was the last time I was at cabin. It's turkey season, but I get up there and my nephew was up there ahead of us, by a couple of weeks. He was there at the beginning of turkey season with a friend of his, and I was up late turkey season. But freaking wood chips by the stove, from him chopping kindling, and the propane tank wasn't turned off. I'm like, we better not run out of gas so I can cook on this cook stove, and those stuff, giving everybody a hard time over that sort of thing. But man, it's just, that's really what started the journey of us, because all you need is a rainy day. And you're all right. What are we going to do? We're in a cabin. It's a rainy day. Let's look through, tell some old stories.
Yeah.
Or let's look at those bucks on the wall and tell me the story about, when you got that deer and that sort of thing. And that's what was the genesis of us really posting our pictures online and us starting to, throwing stuff up on YouTube, just clowning around at camp, and you're part of the group chat, and you see some of the crazy photos we're sharing of each other, brothers dogging on one another. It's the old pics, man.
Yeah.
But it's all in good fun. And there's nothing like having a group of hunting buddies, whether it's family or friends, that you can share those stories with and talk about the remember whens.
Yeah. And this is when we get to do it. Cause as soon as hunting season comes, whatever group chat or text or whatever thread you're in, and there's more than one person in it, you're just talking about what happened, like who saw what happened here. And there's there's not a lot of reminiscing during the season.
Not during the season.
It's like, it's a lot of like active, what's happening now.
I'll tell you, on opening day, my toes and fingers were getting a little cold until that chat started firing up.
Yeah.
And it just took the first guy to have a little success, to see something, to squeeze the trigger, send a picture. And then the next guy's like, and it warms you up knowing that your buddies, even though you're not hunting together, they're seeing stuff. They're out there doing the same thing. They're watching the sunrise from another part of Pennsylvania or Maryland or wherever they're from.
Yeah. We were hunting. We were kind of all like doing a lot of still hunting this year because, we got snow in PA finally for the last couple of years of rifle season. And me and one of my buddies were on the same ridge, and I don't know how he missed it, but I was watching 5 or 6. I only had doe tags. I killed a buck in archery, and I was watching these 5 does. They were like 350 yards, maybe 400 yards. I'm like, I'm gonna try. And I tried, and I shot right under, and I was like, I'm not going to do that again. And I just kind of, and he was down the ridge. I don't know. He didn't see the deer, but I could kind of like, I think at that point we couldn't see each other quite yet. And we each walked like another 20 yards and then see each other. Well, somebody was up above those deer on that ridge, and those deer went up that ridge across this giant valley that I shot across them onto this opposite ridge. They went up the ridge, and these hunters like kicked them back out. They ran I watched them run all the way down the hill, and I'm watching them they kind of disappear. And then I see my buddy kind of like bring up and, shoot one of them. He's like, he like waves me over, and we're like, oh yeah. And we do have a picture of him holding that up like a coyote, but
so you got to see the whole thing unfold.
Yeah, it's those kind of things are so fun. And like, look, we were shooting does, you know what I mean? Like,
that's it for me. It's just, who are you able to share the moment with?
Yeah.
And I'm going to make use of that animal.
Yeah, for sure. If he's listening to this, he might not, but kudos to him, because he did shoot a little doe that day, but he killed a great buck. He killed an access deer. He killed all kinds of stuff last year. So, I get to make fun of him a little bit.
Right on.
What do you love about, I feel that everybody has something unique about their state where they hunt. But PA is a giant, traditional state when it comes to deer hunting, especially during the rifle season. What is something that you love about hunting in PA? Because a lot of times people are like, I can't believe you love hunting Pennsylvania. It's my favorite state, man.
2 thoughts on this, like my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of traveling for work and business, and even earlier this year, I spent a lot of time, a couple trips out west, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like, our country has, look, we've got deserts, we've got mountains, we've got it all, right? As much as I enjoyed like hiking and Moab, Utah, and the Red Rocks and seeing the petroglyphs and things like that, it's not home. Home is Penn's Woods. This is the old part of the country, and a good mature forest, woodland is what is home to me. Like, so I miss that. I take it for granted when I'm here, but when you're away, as much as I love seeing the scenery and, the mountains and the snow peaks and that sort of stuff, home is a good, mature, wooded area to hunt. So I love that. And so with our group, with the collaborative, we get guys in Maryland, we got guys in Virginia and New York and the surrounding areas and stuff. But PA guys, the one thing we all understand is hunt camp.
Yep.
We know when I say I'm going to camp, you know what I'm talking about. It's playing cards. It's staying up too late. It's hanging with the guys. It's eating like you shouldn't. It's telling stories. It's everything that it represents. That's what I love about hunting in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Right. Because not a state as close as Maryland, and we got guys that love to hunt and they're from Maryland. They didn't grow up with that same experience.
Right.
They see it.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yep.
But, it's being able to participate in something like that. And as a young guy, being included with the men, even if it's just hanging out at the butcher shop or at the tailgate, and it's like a rite of passage.
Yep.
So that hunt camp feeling, that's really what we're about.
Yeah. Love it. Dude, this has been a great episode, and we're already covered like a whole hour.
We cruise. It's good, man.
It's so easy to talk about this stuff when you love it so much, But where can people find you at, man? We've been talking about your podcast. Shout it out.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. You can find the Tracks and Tackle podcast pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. Tracks and Tackle, spell it out. The AND. Tracks and Tackle. We're at Tracks and Tackle on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. I don't do TikToks and that sort of stuff. I'm too old for that crap, but maybe we should if we want to get the youth. You can also find us at Mentzer Outdoors. A lot of the content is, I try to run both pages. A lot of it's a bleed over from one to the other.
Yeah.
We've got a YouTube channel there where we'll post some of our hunts and some of our fishing trips and that sort of stuff. So we're on Facebook and Instagram there as well. And if you want to follow me on X, I'm at Ron_Mentzer. I don't spend a whole lot of time posting there, but I'm there. So if you want to know what I really think, you might get a different side of me on X.
Cool. Yeah. So soon to be TikTok opening day, deer hunting rain dances in Pennsylvania over at the Tracks and Tackle.
You got it. You got it.
Good to have you, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Aaron.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to hear Ron today. That was a really fun episode. I know you probably really loved it because we all love stories. Check out Tracks and Tackle at Tracks and Tackle on Instagram. You can check out Ron at Mentzer Outdoors. He's always posting something, always sharing something great. So check him out. If you would, I'd so much appreciate you leaving a review for InCamp on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen. That would be fantastic. I love to hear from you guys, so the messages are great too. Keep them coming. This is InCamp.